everybody, and welcome to another bright and shiny episode of B2B Breakfast to Business with your morning girl, Bea Lim, also the managing director of Team Asia. And we are super looking forward to another hip and happening episode right here on our weekly podcast. Guys, it is National Heroes Day. So, first and foremost, a big shout out to all of the people who have laid down their lives and passions and commitment to the Filipino people, both our past heroes as well as our present day heroes and the folks that are going to be born taking care of the Filipino people and raising our flag proud. Earlier this month, we actually gave recognition to amazing frontliners and heroes of the COVID-19 pandemic and how their stories have really inspired us. If you guys haven't watched that or tuned into that episode, please do so. It was such a beautiful session and we would love for you guys to spread the kindness and the love. So today, we decided that we want to be able to celebrate Araw ng Mga Bayani by talking about legacies. And to be able to do that, we wanted to bring in real people with real life stories to share what's it like to be a descendant of the national hero. Have you guys ever wondered if that was in your blood and how it would be like? Because this is something that I feel is such a beautiful thing to talk about in a time where we need heroes the most. Today, we are joined by gentlemen who are descendants of the sons, play of words right there, or the descendants of our heroes and are living legacies of their forefathers. We have with us today Vicente Lim IV, descendant of Filipino Brigadier General and World War II hero Vicente Lim. We also have Jeremiah Villaroman, descendant of our country's national hero, Dr. Jose P. Rizal. So in this beautiful Monday morning, I welcome these two amazing gentlemen. First up, we have Vicente Lim IV, Vinci. Hi Vinci, how are you?
I'm fine, Beo. Thank you for having me.
Of course, very excited you're with us here today, Vince. And also, of course, Jeremiah Villaroman, also known as Je. Hi, Je. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Bea. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Super excited, guys. I'm like kinikilig. We have descendants of our national heroes with us today talking about such a beautiful and important topic. Guys, we live in such uncertain times where, we're not only craving for inspiration and motivation, but we're also craving for, something to do to get us out of this uncertain times. Whether it be, helping other people, being heroes ourselves, or passing the kindness forward as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward definitely to hearing your stories. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, because we do have Vinci and Je with us, I want you guys to get to know them better. And there's no other way to do that than to get them to tell us their stories. So guys, my first question really is storytelling time. Tell us more about yourself, like which generation are you in the family lineage of your forefather, and how are you related to these wonderful heroes? Let's start first with Je. Je, go ahead.
Right. So technically, Jose Rizal is my great uncle because he didn't have any living descendants that we know of. Yeah, that we know of. But I am from the Saturnina branch. So Saturnina is the first and eldest daughter and sister of Jose Rizal. And yeah, I'm a fifth generation Rizal. And that is me. That is how I'm related to Jose Rizal. But growing up, they said that, since he didn't have any living descendants, technically we just call him Lolo Jose or Lolo Pepe, but, grandfather na. But technically,
Yes.
he's my uncle.
Awesome. So great, 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 great grand uncle.
Grand uncle, yes. So five.
Awesome. Fifth generation Rizal here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Jet. All right. Let's move on over to Vinci. Hey, Vinci, how about you?
Well, I won't be counting as much, but I guess it's simpler with me because my name tells it all. No? So my name is Vicente Lim the Fourth, meaning I'm a fourth generation Vicente Lim. The original being well, to most Filipinos, they know him as the likeness that appears on the 1,000 peso bill together with Jose Falianes Escoda and Jose Abad Santos. So um, the naming convention in our family, so to speak, no, is that it's only one Vicente Lim per generation, and everyone comes from one straight line. So uh, Vicente Lim had a son. One of them was named Vicente Lim Jr. Jr. had a son also and was named Vicente Lim the third. And I'm the son of the third, so I'm Vicente Lim the fourth. And as far as my wife is concerned, she already knew even before she married me that there would be no discussion when it comes to having a son and naming that son. She already knows there's no contest. It will be Vicente Lim the fifth, if and when that time comes.
We're looking forward to that, Vinci, the fifth. And what the fifth's nickname is going to be. All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your family lineage and how you guys are related to our wonderful national heroes, Dr. Jose Rizal and General Vicente Lim. Moving on to you guys, right? Before we go into the nitty-gritty stories of our forefathers or our, the sons, so to speak, let's talk about you guys. Like, in this modern day and age, what is the heir of Dr. Jose Rizal and General Vicente Lim doing now? So what keeps you busy and what do you do for a living? So maybe what we can do is to jazz it up a little bit. I'll start first with Vinci and then I'll go to Jet next. So Vinci, go ahead. Tell us more about yourself.
I actually wanted to be introduced as, well, an advocate for honoring, preserving the legacy of our nation's heroes. Most importantly, simply because I am one. I would call myself that. But I guess, put it in one way, in my earnest desire to dedicate my life to that mission of honoring our nation's heroes, I actually became an unlucky casualty of COVID-19, or the whole situation actually, because I had quit my previous job. I quit what was a 10-year career in the tech industry. I worked in telecommunications for a long time, and more recently in fraud in terms of digital payments. But I decided to make a total career shift to one that's more related to that advocacy of mine. And in my earnest desire to dedicate my life to that mission, I got caught between moving jobs. But hopefully, once everything gets cleared, I'll be happy to really focus 100% on telling the stories of our heroes. And I guess we can leave it at that.
All right, awesome, Vinci. I'm super proud of you because, like what you said, the advocacy of keeping the memories of our national heroes or our heroes for that matter alive is something that all of the other generations, even after us, would definitely need. And having you on that side, fighting for their legacies and their stories is something that I would love to look forward to for our own children and the children of our children, because we should never forget all of the different sacrifices and the valuable lessons of our heroes as well. So we're wishing you the best of luck on that front, Vince, and we're looking forward to your next chapter so that you can talk to us about it even more. So Vince, right now, what keeps you busy? Like, what's been happening with you on that front? Like, with COVID-19, it's been a lockdown. So what keeps Vicente Lim the Fourth busy?
To be honest, it's been hard to keep my head up because of the whole situation, obviously. But I think the whole career move thing, even though the timing was terrible, is all worth it. So all this time, aside from being a good husband, I've been busy preparing for the job. I've been reading a lot because that new job will require that anyway. So I've been continuing to prepare for that. But on the lighter side of things, I've been very busy with my toy photography. It's one of the things that keeps me sane and busy, and it's actually helped me a lot during this time of pandemic.
That's awesome. And so the toys that he's actually saying, because he's not plugging it, so I will plug it for him, guys, is that he is a Star Wars fanatic, FYI. Please catch his Instagram later on. I'll tell you guys, like, at the end of the program, because it's really cool. Like, I I'm impressed. So I love it. So we're going to share that also with you guys later. So thank you so much, Vinci, for that one. Jet, moving on to you. What's the modern day heir of Dr. Josepi Rizal doing? And what keeps you busy? Go ahead.
So before that, so I wanted to tell Vinci thank you for having that advocacy, because that's also really close to my heart, and something that um, what I've been wanting to do, and ever for the past 4 years, being more involved in these meetings, these events, everything that has to do with all of that. So yeah, good job. I will I will try also. uh,
Mabuhay.
right, padayon. So basically, yeah, I'm also a casualty of COVID-19. Um, like many others, I used to work in PR for almost 2 years. I was a senior digital accounts manager with Bridges PR. Um, but also at the same time, I'm also a lifestyle editorial fashion photographer. So I have these two sides of my brain that are not really competing, but it's something that I love. Two things that I love to do the most. It's connections with people. I love talking to people. I love talking. I love talking to people. So I made that into a career, and also the love of art. When because I took up advertising management. It was one of the subjects I had in college, and when I took my first portrait, I instantly fell in love with it, and I made the leap. Last Feb, I resigned.
Wow, it's the same time as me.
I resigned, and I had an entire year planned. Like, I everything was already, everything was falling into place. My last event was for this hair care brand, and it was all about making your own story, and I felt that it was such a perfect way for me to go. Then when I got back from New York Fashion Week, boom. But yeah, I'm still keeping that whole both of my careers alive. So right now, I'm actually a PR consultant for a couple of brands here in the Philippines, and I'm still shooting. Hopefully, when everything is more relaxed and safer, I can get back into the studio and start shooting again. But yeah, that's what's keeping me busy.
Awesome. So guys, the stars have aligned because this is like, just talking to you guys and hearing your stories. I mean, first of all, both of you like, communicating and talking. Vinci share that, he really wants to go after being able to keep the advocacy alive. And Jet, you're doing the same thing, which is like beautiful that both of you guys are coming together in this podcast and talking about that while there were very difficult situations that both happened in February, the casualties of COVID-19, so to speak, both of you guys are keeping that burning passion alive of using your talent and skill and pushing forward not only your own careers, but the legacies of our forefathers. So good job. Congratulations to both of you guys. Thank you so much for keeping it real and keeping it strong. And both of you guys are photographers. I love it.
I don't have half as many followers as Jed does. Maybe I'll add to his statistic later.
I love it. So both of you guys can share your accounts later on, because today we just need to be able to spread the love and the creativity really, and get people to be inspired by the beautiful art that our artists and photographers are doing. So yes, we will get to that for sure. So maraming salamat, gentlemen. Now let's talk about living legacies, because you both already touched on that a little bit, right? You talked about, how you are related to our heroes and what you guys are doing, today in this very moment, right? What we want to know, and of course, I'm sure our listeners want to know, right? What was it like growing up being a descendant of a hero? Was there any pressure to continue their legacies, traditions, and the like? So I'm going to switch it up again. I'm going to go ahead and start with Jet this time. Go ahead, Jet. How was it like?
So I'm going to reference a lot of things about it also. It's like how, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Last Airbender, Avatar,
Avatar.
the Last Airbender. So their identities were not revealed to them when they were born. They were revealed to them when they were probably, I think it was 16 or 15. But yeah, in my case, it was pretty normal. But of course, there were always expectations. There's always expectations when people find out my origins. It's not a conversation starter. I don't say, "Hey, I'm Jeff Roman. I'm related to Rizal. How are you?" Like that. No, it's not. It's something that people need to figure out, I guess. But yeah, it was the usual um, training with proper decorum, how to speak, how to act, and what to say, or to an extent. Um, but yeah, but definitely when people find out who I really am, they have so many questions. It's why are you here? Uh, what are you studying? How many languages do you speak? Why are you so are you, why aren't you in UP?
Okay. Okay.
And they always assume that I live and breathe Nole Metangere and that I speak a ton of languages. I mean, I have to admit I did live and breathe Nole Metangere. It was something that was you know this is the book. You need to read it. But yeah, what else? It was pretty normal, but it, like I said, it's when I found out, when my parents told me about it, I was in grade 2. I didn't really think any of it because I was in grade 2. I was in Ateneo. Then we were still learning about him at that time. Then it's just that when people figure out that, oh, oh my God, here's Rizal's descendant. He's on the 1 peso coin. Wow, you guys have the same hair. It's so funny. And, but yeah, it's ano lang, it's just difficult lang siguro when people expect you to be as brilliant, as smart, as knowledgeable as him. But I honestly struggled with that growing up because um, when, so basically it's of course I was in Ateneo and we have this entire garden dedicated for him, and I passed by that every single day going to school. And it was something that I had to live with na, um, how am I going to, at a young age, I was probably grade 6 or grade 7, how am I going to live up to that amazing human being? Yet I am just this average student, almost flunking in Ateneo. But yeah, it's always that voice behind, at the back of my head, saying that it's, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's mostly the voices of my lola, my dad, my mom.
Yeah.
But I love them. But it's no, it's on the outside it's very normal. I grew up normally as a kid,
Correct.
like any other kid. It's just that there are 2 days within the year that I have to dedicate my entire day for, and it's Rizal Day and then it's his birthday. Na growing up, waking up at 4 a.m. during Christmas break, going to Luneta ever since I was maybe like 7 years old or 8 years old, and meeting these really tall politicians. Yung pala, it was Arab, then bigla it's Gloria na, then then Ninoy, then Terte. And yeah, it's something that my dad instilled growing up. Na
Sure.
you should never. It's because he is the most hardcore Rizal fanatic in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even even when he was already confined. So my dad passed away like 3 years ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Jeff.
So yeah, so he passed away January 7, and Rizal Day, he was like, you better not skip Rizal Day. He was so sick. He was sick in his bed. Then He's like, you better not skip Rizal Day. So I was like, okay, let's go to Rizal Day. Then let's go back to the hospital. Then it's something that that was engraved in my mind to the point that maybe 2 years ago we planned our trip to Europe around Rizal Day, so we can celebrate Rizal Day in Madrid.
Oh, nice.
It was an amazing experience. It's I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. It's such a full circle moment celebrating Rizal Day in Avenida Las Islas Filipinas, and
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of the Spanish officials were there. The Philippine consul was there, and it was a full circle moment because it's, as we all know, we were conquered by Spain for almost 300 years, and they are the reason why it was all it was them. They were the reason why our ancestors revolted in all their ways, and seeing his monument being like sky high at the corner of that avenida that was named for the Philippines. It's such a full circle moment that time really does heal, and they do acknowledge everything. They took accountability for everything that they've done to most of their colonies, and it was beautiful. It's especially when they offered the flowers, the usual offerings of their flowers to them,
Yes.
and when they acknowledged us. Oh, we don't get you guys, we don't get the Descendants here a lot, but so thank you. And yeah, that is about it. Growing up as a descendant.
I feel you, Jay. I feel you. By the way, such a beautiful ending to your story of having that full circle moment. I can like just imagine it, and I'm sure like the love and the pride that you guys were feeling at that time. Grabe, like I'm sure you would if you could bring the whole Philippines with you guys to have that moment of shared history and showcasing, or like what you said, like they acknowledge the amazing things that your great 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 grand uncle pushed forward, right, for the Filipino people. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jed. It's so real. I'm sure there were so many expectations and the amount of pressure, and it doesn't necessarily mean the amount of pressure externally, right? It's internally as well. Like, how do we measure up to people, right,
It's
who
insane.
have monuments,
Of
who
money,
have books?
books, I mean, whose face is all over the world, who has a monument all over the world. It's crazy. And every time when I travel, I make it a point na are there any Rizal monuments here that I need to know of, because I can't go there. And my recent one was in New Jersey. They have a monument of Jose Rizal in New Jersey.
Really? Okay, that's cool.
Crazy. I had a shoot in New Jersey, and when I looked at the corner of my eye, I was like, that bust looks oddly familiar. So I looked. It was a bust of his likeness on a park. And I was like, wait, can you stop? I need to go down. What
Yeah, for sure.
he's doing here? It's not even like it's not like in Queens now there are a lot of Filipinos. I mean, there are a lot of Filipinos in New Jersey, but it's not a super Filipino populated area.
Yeah,
Oh my god, that is amazing. I'm like,
that's
my
awesome.
dad following me everywhere I go.
There you go. There you go. Thank you so much, Jet, for sharing. And of course, we'd love to know also, Vinci, how you grew up. Like, how you grew up being a descendant of General Lim. And was there any pressure continuing on his legacies?
To be honest, I do get that question a lot. And I always say that, it's not something that I brag about, but it's something that I'm very proud of. And in the same way, I know it's a big responsibility, but at the same time, I've never really viewed it as a burden. So, it's not as hard for people to figure out because the name is the same, right? So because of that, my heritage was, or knowing that my heritage was quite unique, came at a very early age. And you know how you have these earliest memories. So your first memory as a young boy. Mine was being placed on top of a table in front of rows and rows of cadets, whether it was at the Philippine Military Academy or, well, what was then the Philippine National Police Academy when it was still in Camp Vicente in Laguna. So that was one of my earliest memories as a young boy. So it's very obvious that my it wasn't pressure, but it was a very early indoctrination to the life that I was supposed to lead, or the heritage that I was supposed to represent or remember. So, but I wouldn't really call it pressure, or I've never really felt it to be a burden because, um, at a young age, I was already immersed in it that much, and it became normal to me that people would ask me, "Oh, so lolo mo yung nasa 1,000 peso bill?" Yes. So we'll call you general. Okay, that's great. Um, but for me, on the serious side, no, I think the one thing that influenced my life a lot was reading the letters of my Lolo Vicente. And perhaps one of the best lines that I took away from reading those letters, and one that has really defined how I've lived my life thus far, is when he said that when he was writing one of his last letters out of Bataan. He said that with all this talk, I sincerely give all the credit to my officers and enlisted men. They are the ones who did it all. Mine is only to inspire and to lead them. When history is written, I will give them all the credit, and their satisfaction is mine to share. Now, unfortunately, General Lim never made it through the Second World War. He was executed just before the liberation of the Philippines was complete. And he never fulfilled that promise. He never got the chance to fulfill that promise. So, as a young boy, I kind of figured out I have to take it upon myself to fulfill this promise. So, as you figure, it has never been limited to just my great grandfather. My great grandfather is just perhaps a vehicle or someone that's recognizable or familiar to people because, well, the name is on, as Rizal is, so many streets, so many monuments, so many memorials. But for me, it's always been what he said, that he wants to give all the credit to his officers and enlisted men. And to me, that's been my life's mission. And it's never been just limited to Lolo Vicente. And I've always had great admiration and respect to anyone who's ever picked up a rifle and put themselves in harm's way for their country. And so it's because of that that I've had all, well, a natural affinity, I guess, to anything that allows me to immerse myself in that mission to give credit to those unsung heroes, the people whose names that you wouldn't find on streets or you wouldn't find in the history books, so to speak. So because of it, uh, I've met a lot of interesting people along the way. Um, I've had to spend a lot of time with veterans. Um, of course, you meet people also that are very interested in their history. Other descendants, for me, that's probably the proudest thing I've done towards that mission. No? Finding out more about these unsung heroes, bringing together descendants so that they can find out more about their own heritage, even though they're not written in history books. I can feel how important it is to them to find out that, hey, my lolo or my great grand uncle did this. They were just as much heroes as someone who's on a banknote. So I've been invited to a lot of talks and to share all of this information, and I've been very happy to do that. So yeah, I guess that's how that's how it's been.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing also, Vinci, because it ties back to what you said also earlier, right? Like you have dedicated actually, your own free time and your passions and your different projects to being able to, really push out the lives of these unsung heroes. And this is actually also one of the things that you want to constantly do to keep our heroic lineage alive and strong, not only from a limb perspective, but actually from all the other people who have, like what you said, picked up a rifle and put themselves in harm's way defend the freedom of their country. So that's something that's so beautiful because at the end of the day, like, there are a lot of missions that our forefathers have put forth, right? I mean, Rizal did that too, right, Je? Like, he also had a lot of different valuable lessons that he put forth in a lot of the different books. And, like, with the letters of General Vicente Lim, it's also good to know that it wasn't just about his story. It was also about the stories of hundreds and thousands of other Filipinos who have really fought valiantly for the country. So thank you so much for sharing that as well, Vinci. On that note, actually, because you've already shared one of the most valuable lessons, Vinci, that you learned from your ancestry, which is the line on, Lolo Vicente's, one of the last letters, right, from Bataan, from the front line of Bataan, a letter to his wife and saying that, he's giving credit to his men who did it all, right? How about you, Je? Is there a valuable lesson or lessons that you would like to share that you've learned from your ancestry as well?
Probably, I've said this answer every single time. It's how what's this how Rizal says, kung hindi tayo marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan, hindi tayo makakapunta sa proroonan. That has stuck with me ever since I was a kid. Because, I mean, ever since I was a kid, it was always instilled in me that you are who you are a Filipino, you have to be proud of your heritage. And not just because you're related to Jose Rizal, but because of how resilient the Filipino people was, and will be. I mean,
For sure.
and I took that to heart, even because I can interpret that whole saying in so many ways. But most recently, it's so just for context, like in my generation, it's always I want to leave. I just want to live in Europe. I just want to live in Spain. I just want to live in France. I just want to live in New York. I just want to live in the States. Just forget about the Philippines altogether. And I have no qualms with people who want to have that path because it's your choice. But then at the end of the day, you still have your duty to give back to your country. And how I see it is that we can learn as much. We should learn if you have the capability and you have the resources to learn from the masters abroad. Absorb everything that you can take in. Your arts courses in France, your culinary skills in Spain, or in my case, I studied photography in New York, and I made sure to just absorb everything that New York has to offer. But I have to admit that it has crossed my mind. It still does. I mean to be based in the States because sometimes it's just so difficult to make a career here in the Philippines because how people see it kasi is, would you rather make big waves in a small pond or medium waves in a big pond? So that's how people see it all the time. But then how I see it is that I take everything, all of the learnings, all of the valuable lessons that I have, that I'm fortunate to get, and all of the basically everything that I'm fortunate to get here abroad, and bring it back to the Philippines and share it with the people here, and make the Philippines a much better place. So not everyone in the Philippines is privileged to get information abroad or like be physically there. So you just have to take everything in and give back to the Philippines because if all of us leave, who will be here to take care of the whole
Absolutely.
land? Diba?
Absolutely.
It's so easy for everyone. It's so easy to say in a parent, oh, I don't want na. I want out. I don't
Yeah.
want. Actually, I'm also very. It also came back to me because I saw this article on Inquirer saying that I don't want to be a Filipino anymore, so don't fight me about it. So I replied to that story. I mean, I shared it on Facebook and I said my piece because, you know, it's your choice. It's your choice that you don't want to be a Filipino anymore. And I totally get you. And I have no problem with that. But if if this type of mentality spreads, no one will be here to, to save everyone else. It's going to be a brain
Absolutely.
drain. Diba? It's going to be a brain drain. And especially the important careers here in the Philippines, I totally get it that it's so difficult. It's really so difficult. So, but then, we all just have to be here. We're all in this together, especially in this crazy, confusing time. So,
Absolutely.
it's so difficult to say now, I love the Philippines. I love, mahal na mahal ko ang Pilipinas. It's so difficult to say, even for me. Sometimes it's so difficult to say. But, well, I'm getting so emotional.
No, it's okay.
Right?
Absolutely okay.
It's just one of my advocacies na we're all in this together, and who else will take care of our country other than us? And yeah, diba? So
Yes, no, really. It's like diba to the nth level experience. I super agree with you, Je. And I was just about to say, you are actually living your great 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 grand uncle's legacy by just saying that. Like, wasn't that also what he did? Was he got the information that he could get? But at the end of the day, he brought it back here because he said nobody's going to be able to do it than a Filipino, right? Who's going to wave our flag except us, right? So we all need to band together. It can't be done by one person and one person alone. We all have to wake up and band together. So, gentlemen, like I'm so emotional also because I can feel both of your hearts are like pumping with so much energy, so much passion, and love for our country. I absolutely love it. So I already know you inherited your grandfather's heart and love for the Philippines, but we do have a cute little question also. Is aside from the heart and the passion, right? Is there anything like a trait, a physical feature, or a hobby, or even a physical object that you inherited from your ancestor? I think that it's something that to just like break the ice a little bit. Let's start first with Vinci. Vinci, aside from Lolo Vicente's heart, what did you inherit from him?
Maybe in terms of a physical trait, maybe it's my jawline, a square jaw. If you if you look at the likeness of how it's represented on the 1,000 peso bill, people always tell me I have big cheeks or something like that. But I think it really comes from how square my jaw is. So
Sure.
on the physical aspect, that's probably the one that would be most obvious to people. Quick trivia though, when it comes to the hair and where kung saan yung hati ng buhok, di ba? Uh, the first two Vicente limbs had it on the other side. The next two Vicente limbs, that's me and my father, it was on the side that it's on now. So that's one thing I noticed. Handwriting, maybe sort of the same. If you look at his signature and my handwriting, it's not too far apart.
Nice.
but maybe a non-physical trait, maybe it's I guess from the stories, of course, we never met him anymore. No, was more of a stern or serious demeanor for the most part, anyway. So yeah, I think that would be it.
I love it. So jawline, the hair part, the hair part, the other, but it's on the other side. It's our genetics. I think course correction, right, for future generations, and the handwriting, which is very interesting, and the strong and firm demeanor. How about you, Je? Aside from the hair, you mentioned earlier that some people say pareho kayo ng buhok.
basically, I think aside from the hair, it's his love for languages and communications and art that has rubbed off on me, because ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to. Actually, I wanted to learn a lot of languages. I mean, the most but right now the most that I can do is maybe Spanish na lang. But yo entiendo, yo hablo, entiendo escribir. But then I did try to dabble into French, maybe Italian, but it's too much, I guess. Yeah, the love of art, I realized that when I wanted to go into photography even more, like every time I go to a museum, I always just gravitate towards classical portraits, mostly oil canvas portraits. It's I rarely go to the landscape art. It's always the faces, and even until now, how I do my how how I light my subjects is how I see it on paintings. It's how Rembrandt does it, especially with the light. So something like this. So this is just lighting, exactly like this. So you see the triangle on your other cheek. That's
Yeah.
called Rembrandt lighting, and it's the most flattering lighting in the world, basically.
You need to teach me
um,
some tips.
so yeah, and I can pick up a lot of languages really easily. Maybe it's because maybe I don't know, for Italian, French, and Spanish, because they're all the same. I mean, basically they all have the same origin, and I can adapt well to accents also for some reason. For some reason, my Spanish, if I speak in Spanish, a lot of Spaniards would think that I'm very fluent in Spanish because of the intonation of my words. But yeah, so basically that, and maybe definitely not the height. Definitely not the height because he's very short. But my Lola was very tall. Saturnina was very tall. Actually, very tall woman. But objects wise, it's actually a lot. So a lot of his letters to Blumentritt, a lot of his letters to Josephine Bracken, it's all preserved.
Nice.
Litmus papers, a lot of his books, his clothes, paintings. They're all loaned in different museums here and abroad.
I'm so grateful that our forefathers wrote letters. Like all of these valuable lessons are all, encapsulated in letters and that are passed down, right? To
Yes.
different generations so that we can all learn from it. Speaking of what's in letters, right, guys? And all the sacrifices that our ancestors have made for the Philippines, I wanted to touch on a hero's worth, right? So we've talked about, living legacy and what's it like growing up and who our forefathers are and what our advocacies because of it. I mean, what we want to zero in now is the hero's worth, right? It is National Heroes Day that we are celebrating, and we should be celebrating all the heroes out there, whether they have monuments or not, whether they are named or not, whether they are known or not, right? We want to celebrate them. And as we celebrate them, I would love to know from the both of you, what do you think makes one a hero, especially in today's challenging times? So let's start first with Vinci. So Vinci, what do you think makes a hero, especially in today's times?
Uh, okay, let's see. Let's start with another letter from Lol Vicente. No? So one of my other favorite letters from him was when he said that you have to leave a name that your posterity can be proud of. And I don't know, you probably see what my Zoom background is. It's actually the walls of the missing at the Manila American Cemetery, which is run by the American Battle Monuments Commission. And it's there in BGC, beside where National Hero Cemetery is, our own version. But actually, the ABMC also has Filipinos buried there. And in fact, Lola Vicente's name is up on the walls of the missing here at the Manila American Cemetery. And I like that line about having a name that your posterity can be proud of. Because if you walk through the halls of those that have been marked as missing, buried at sea, and all of that, you kind of think, if a descendant looks at this name that's written or inscribed in these walls, you know that they've done something with their life because they can be proud of that name up there. And I guess for me, the concept of what makes a modern day hero is, the reason why you think that the people whose names are up there on those walls are, something to be proud of is because for me, the common theme is they did what had to be done. And if you hang out enough with all of these veterans, you hang out enough with, real life heroes, they'll always say the same thing, that they were merely doing what had to be done, and you know that they did it without expecting anything in return. So for me, it's not really a complicated thing to define. To me, that's what the hero is all about. You just do what has to be done on your own turf, in your own world, in your own sphere of influence. Don't expect anything in return. Just do it because it's right. Do it because it has to be done. And for me, one of the big turnoffs is when people, kind of insinuate that, oh, I'm heroic, or I'm a hero. But if you're around real heroes enough, they'll never call themselves that. And that's because they never really expect anything in return. So for me, the concept of modern day hero or everyday hero has been molded along those lines.
Fantastic. Beautiful. Simply beautiful, and also what we really need to hear today, because there are so many things that have to be done. And if you are actually able to do it, you are courageous, you are brave, you have the mettle and the grit and the determination to do it. And you become a hero just by doing that, and waving our flag proud. So thank you so much for sharing your definition of a modern day hero. How about you, Jet? What do you think makes one a hero?
So basically now, so I just wanted to, so in this day and age, where information is just so easy to come by, um, how I can say what makes a modern hero now is, a hero can be as being a hero is as simple as sharing, informing, and educating your peers, your friends, your followers, the people you are all around with, the people that follow them on social media, because at this point everything is just all digital, and everything, all of the information that we need and everything that is being fed to us is at the palm of our hands. It's literally just this.
Yep.
And especially now with what is going on with our country right now, it's so important for us to educate. It's so important for us to speak out, and just informing and educating everyone of what is going on with our country right now. And it may seem like uh, people would say it also goes back to voting. It's like one vote doesn't count, but it may look and seem like a small drop of water in the ocean, but every storm starts with a single drop of rain,
Correct.
right? And by that single drop of rain, you can just, by one restory or one share of a post of something, of a credible article of what people are trying to report, it's already you're already doing your duty to your country of informing these people. And I think that's what makes one a hero in this day and age. It's not it's not like before na we have to get out on the streets with our balisongs and our rifles, going into war. But right now, it's we can everything is in the palm of our hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, to your point also, Je, it's like it's not just about being able to see big things that you need to do. It's also about being able to do the little things put together and making your voice heard. And I think you touched on a very, very important topic, which is having our voices heard. Like, modern day heroes stepping up is about being able to give their voice a platform to soar and hopefully inspire and influence other people to do the right thing, to do something that will ignite change and push things forward, right? So here you go, guys. Like with our two gentlemen here, what makes a modern day hero is very simple. One is that you need your voices heard. And you guys need to do things that are about sharing, educating, and influencing people for the good, for the better. But at the same time, we just need to do the things that need to get done, right? We do the things that has to get done, and just don't expect anything in return, because we are doing our duty to our country. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, gentlemen. On that note, I have another juicy question. Because, I mean, you guys know your ancestors very well from all of the stories and all of the lessons that have been passed down to you guys by your parents and your grandparents. If Dr. Jose Rizal and General Vicente Lim were alive today, what advice do you think they would be giving to the youth of today, to this generation? Let's start with Vinci again. Vince, what do you think General Vicente would be giving the youth as an advice?
Um, I guess it would be something that came from our Lola, who had her own, uh, who was actually had a lot of contributions on her own. So Pilar Hidalgo Lim actually was one of the staunch advocates of women's suffrage, the right to vote, and all of these great things that women enjoy today. And I have to plug that in because she deserves as much credit as Lolo Vicente. And I guess the one anecdote that stuck to me with the, as told by one of our uncles before, was that when he was putting on a sock inside the car, he, if you're a kid, you you just put it any way, which way you wish to put it. Your objective is just to put it on. But the one thing that Lola Pilar told him was, here, do it the right way. And so that's always been a takeaway of mine, right? The advice that he would give is to do the right thing the right way for the right reasons. And when you know you're right, you never should be afraid. That was written in one of his letters also, about not being afraid when you know you're right. So I think that's a very good piece of advice, or pieces of advice actually. So you do the right things the right way for the right reasons, and don't be afraid when you know you're right. And with that, with that mindset, or with that kind of thinking, um, it's hard to go wrong. It's hard to go wrong, and you live your life to, make sure that you don't you don't shame your family's name, whether or not you're known or unsung. You know, it's the same for everybody. You follow those guidelines, um, do it right within your family, within your neighborhood, and if everybody does that, then the world would be a better place. It's a cliche, I know, but it's kind of simple if you think of it.
Yes, Vinci, but we all need it. We all need a better world, and the better world starts with us. You know what they say, right? Honestly, we can't save the world, but we can save ourselves, and we have to trust that in saving ourselves and doing the right things for the right reasons, we're able to save someone else, right? That's what we want to be able to do. So thank you so much for sharing that, Vinci. If General Vicente were here today, that's what he would be giving us advice on, right? How about you, Je? If Rizal were alive today, I mean, he spoke about the youth a lot in his in his own writing. But what do you think? Like, if he were alive today, what would he be saying?
Whatever, if you were alive today, he will still say the same things, because after studying about him all my life, even in school, um, especially in college courses that are named after him, um, it's really it's all about the youth stepping up. He will tell me, what are you waiting for? What are you gonna do? Right? We're done. We've done our part. What are you gonna do? So actually, I'm getting emotional about this one, because, yeah, it's a recurring thought that has been going through my mind ever since the whole pandemic started.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to um, basically, it's so difficult to wrap your head around the whole pandemic and everything around it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's only so much that you can do at home. What else can we do? Like, so I would go back to that. It's, what are you gonna do? And yeah, he'll probably tell me that, we are the old heroes. You are the modern hero.
Mm-hmm.
Your friends are modern heroes. And also, I just wanted to define what a modern hero is. It's someone who uses their platform, to speak up and aren't afraid to, just let their voices be heard. Um, Especially now, I have one example, Janine Gutierrez, who is very vocal on social media with her views and opinions on the government and whatever is going on right now. And I love that I love how she's so vocal and so free with her speech, and she's so unafraid that she has a huge following, she has a huge fan base, and that could make a big ripple into this
Yeah.
tiny pond that makes it to a bigger ocean. You know, and it's getting picked up by media outlets, and she's empowering all of her followings, especially the young ones that follow her and her constituents and the kids my age. And that makes a modern hero for me. It's someone who uses their platform to speak their truth and to say that it's so important for us to step out into the shadows, and speak our truth and empower others to do so also.
Yeah.
Because there's so much we can do as a collective of Filipinos.
Yeah.
We are such a resilient race of people that we got hit by Taal in January. 1 month after, we got hit by COVID. We're still here. We're still standing, and that's what frustrates me even more in this day and age. In during these times, is that these Filipinos deserve so much more and so much better mm, because whatever the universe hits us, we just keep on going. We keep on smiling, even though we're like covered in ash and like face masks and our face shields. We keep on smiling. You just don't see it, but we're smiling,
Yeah.
and you know that's what makes ultimately a modern hero, and that's what he would tell me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you so much for sharing that as well, Jeb, because you know, the elections are coming up as well. I mean, voters registration is going to open when we deem it safe. I know that the COMELEC has also shared like, safety guidelines and the like. And like what you said, like, the question of what are you gonna do now? Like what are you gonna do next, right? Because that the future is in our hands. As cliche as it may be, it's cliche. Sometimes I feel, guys, like Vinci and Jay. I'm not sure if you guys agree with me, diba? Like sometimes I feel that yes, it's a cliche, but maybe it's a cliche because it hasn't been solved. You get what I mean? Like, when earlier it's like, took us stay a better world, but it's like, we all need that, a better world. But does it mean that it's because we haven't completed the cycle? Thank you so much for sharing that because I know that it's not easy also. Like, it's semi easy. It's hard and easy at the same time because the valuable lessons from our great grandfathers. But at the same time, we get emotional because we know what's going on, right? And it makes us think of what they had to go through and and that's what we're enjoying now. They had to go through so much, guys, for us to enjoy what we're doing now. So what are we doing with the time, the space, the world? Jet, you said something beautiful. Why do Filipinos smile behind the face mask, behind every single disaster that we've been through, man-made or natural or whatnot? I think it's because the zest of life for Filipinos is so strong. We want to live. We don't never give up, never surrender. Babangon tayo, lagi, all the time. Gusto natin mabuhay, 'di ba? That's why our way of greeting is mabuhay because it all goes back to life, to the core of what we want, which is to live life fully, right? And which is what we're doing now. But the question really that I also want to ask is if you were given a chance to travel back in time, if you were able to go back and actually meet Lolo Pepe and Lolo V, and tell them about the Philippines today, right? Like you are modern day, you're modern day Vinci and modern day Jet. You go travel back in time. What would you share with them about the Philippines? Like, how would you describe the Philippines to them? Vince, let's start with you. How would you describe the Philippines to them?
Okay, I might not sound as positive as the as the whole conversation has been, but okay, maybe I'd start with something very on the ground. As you know, all the 10 years that I've worked, I've always took public transportation to my place of work. Not only is it practical, but I don't know, it's character building. Let's just put it that way. And seeing seeing what happens on the ground really grounds you in the reality of everyday Filipino life. So I've been held up, those sorts of things. I've experienced all of that. So honestly, if they ask me, or if I have to tell them whether or not Filipinos are worth dying for, seeing how people behave every day on the street, it's hard for me to say yes. The jury is still out. Let's just put it that way. The jury is still out whether Filipinos are really worth dying for. But it also means that there's still hope. All right. Uh, there's still hope that some things can still change. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything that has to change is from the top. Even from the bottom, some things, a lot of things have to change. I know as much. So it's not like you blame the government for everything. No, no one's faultless. I can tell you that. Um, but I think uh, while the jury is still out for whether or not the Filipino is really worth dying for, I think what you can say is um, the idea or the vision of a better Philippines that our forefathers did fight for was certainly worth it. I'd put it that way. And it is up to our generation, because I wouldn't presume to give them advice. I mean, their what they've done in their life is unquestionable at this point. So it's up to our generation actually, and future ones, to make sure that what they did was not in vain. And that's the ideal, or that's the vision of the Philippines that they fought for, and I think was worth it. And it's up to us to make sure that it was not in vain.
Absolutely. So it's like, there are so many different things that are going on, things that are happening on ground, as you said, Vince. But what we're saying here is that, yes, sabi mo nga kanina, Jed, diba? Sometimes mahirap to say, mahal kong Pilipinas. Minsan, and I have to say that, like, I love my country, but there are days when you're like, why? Yeah, it's like you cry a little, and I've been doing that a lot lately. But like what you said, Vinci, it's like there's a vision, and the vision is so strong. We can feel it in our veins. And honestly, Je and Vinci, you guys wouldn't be here if that vision weren't alive and kicking. You guys wouldn't be telling people about your forefathers and your own, your own emotions regarding what's going on in the Philippines, because we all have that hope, right, for the vision of a better Philippines. So thank you so much for sharing that, Vinci. How about you, Je? Travel back and see your Lolo Pepe. What are you going to tell him about what's going on in the Philippines today? And, also ask him, like, was it worth fighting and dying for the Filipino? Go ahead.
So maybe first off is I'm gonna tell him that your pen now has been replaced with a phone. The pen has been replaced with a phone. Don't worry, the house is still there. It's still intact. But yeah, um, I would tell him how different it is now. It's not just because of the technology, it's not because of the modernization of the Philippines, but um, how Filipinos are living in how basically how Filipinos are living right now, how different it is. That but then like what Vinci said, that the hope of the better Philippines is still there. And before, during your time, your people, the Filipino people are resilient and we're hungry for change. And I'm gonna tell him it's the same. It's the same situation. We're still here. We're still smiling, but we're so hungry for change. We're almost there. Almost there. Just need
Like you can almost taste it. Like
almost taste it. It's right there. We're all living off your sacrifices and bravery, and I think it's about time for us, to repay that debt, diba? And your deaths and sacrifices, ultimately were not in vain. We're not in vain, but we have the opportunity to live up to that debt and to make sure to pay it in full
yes.
for a better Philippines, you know. And ultimately, basically, the Filipino people are still worth fighting for and dying for, you know. And that is what I will tell him if he were there, if I went back in time. That is a
But like yeah, probably after you give him a hug, like say salamat po.
No, but no, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Vinci and Jet. I think that those are like such beautiful ways of being able to describe the Philippines. Yes, it's not all positive, but we also have to be real. You know, we have to be real. Like we all have a vision of a beautiful Philippines, right? We do have so much vision for progress and everybody just getting along and being able to lift everybody up. Like we have so many bright people. We have so many innovative solutions. There's tech and gadgets that can make things happen, that can make things scale and grow so that we can all lift as a nation. But like what you guys said earlier also, we need to have that mettle to be able to do the things that need to get done, right? We also can't just sit around and just wait for that to happen. And don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not telling you guys to go out into the streets. Like what Jess said earlier, hey, we have our gadgets, we have our phones, we have our voices, we can tell our stories. And I think that what Vicente Sr. and Jose Rizal would really want is for us to use the freedom that we have today to be able to fight for the freedom of the people tomorrow. And that includes your freedom, right? Today, at this very moment, we have to be thankful of our freedom. But we have to work for it. you know, we have to work for it. Guys, it's not free. It's not free. And we've got Je and Vinci sharing such beautiful stories with us today, ladies and gentlemen, because their forefathers and their beautiful ancestry fought for our independence, not only as a Filipino nation, but as a Filipino individual. So, we gotta wave those flags very proud, guys, because buhay tayo dahil sa kanila today, right?
Just to add, I mean, to the people listening on the podcasts, watching this on YouTube, I just wanted to ask you guys, where do you think we would be in 2020 if if our ancestors just chose to sit down and just let everything pass, diba? Where
True.
do you think? Like, imagine where do you think we'll be in this day and age? I can't even begin to imagine what life or what world we would be in without that. So basically, it's us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's high time to pay the debt in full. Hopefully,
I think, Je, with that question alone, we're gonna keep a lot of people up tonight. But it's such a beautiful question because we should be able to answer that as well. And answering that is not in absolute terms. It's also about really introspectively looking into what we should be doing to be able to make sure that we are all progressing forward as well. So thank you for adding that food for thought. So guys, if you were wondering what you're going to do for National Heroes Day, it's that. To be able to look at where would we be in 2020 if Dr. Jose Rizal and General Vicente Lim in different wars and in different places, right? If they chose to sit it out, where would we be? Dr. Jose Rizal was during the Spanish era, our bloody fight for our independence, right? And General Vicente Lim was fighting and holding the line in Bataan, right? Right before the Bataan Death March, so that we can hold the fort, to keep the Philippines safe from invasion from the Japanese. So, I mean, if they chose to sit it out, where would we be? Right? So, thank you so much for sharing that, ladies and gentlemen. It has been one amazing conversation, on a seemingly mundane Monday morning, but today is not any other Monday morning. It is National Heroes Day. And we would like to thank from the bottom of our hearts and our independence and our freedom, Je and Vinci, for sharing not only the stories of Dr. Jose Rizal as well as General Vicente Lim, but your passion, your advocacy, and educating people about what's going on, in educating people about the valuable lessons that your ancestry has passed on, but more importantly, that you guys are fighting for our freedom in your own little way. So maraming salamat, Je. Maraming salamat, Vinci, for the wonderful conversation, thought-provoking, tummy-turning, gut-wrenching conversation this Monday morning. I would love for our listeners to keep on following you guys. Maybe you're your stories or your Instagram. So where can they find you for any of the stories on your advocacies and the like? Let's start first with Vinci. Vinci, where can our listeners know more about you, your advocacy, and General Vicente Lim? Go ahead.
Well, for my advocacy, I started the Brigadier General Vicente Lim page maybe more than half a decade ago. And I've poured a lot of time and effort into putting as much information as I could, not only about General Lim, it just makes it easier if it's under his name, but like I said earlier, it's equally about the men that fought under him and the unsung heroes that have to be, remembered also. So they just type facebook.com/General Vicente Lim and you should find it there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vinci. And if people want to see your Star Wars photos, where should they go?
uh, it should be at Lima for photos, LIMAFOUR photos, yeah, Lima for photos. So actually, even in my toy photos, I guess part of my advocacy could still be traced there because I've done recreations of very iconic photos of from World War II and more recent wars. So that whole idea is always there at the back of my mind. So I'm
Awesome.
attracted to that even with the creative side of myself.
Which is exactly what Jay also mentioned earlier. Like the creative juices just flowing from the blood of our forefathers. So thank you so much, Vinci. Jay, how about you? Where can our audience find you or learn more about your advocacies? Go ahead.
So basically, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Jet Villaroman. Just straightforward, that's me.
So it's jetvillaroman.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vinci. Thank you so much, Jet, for being such amazing guests for today's episode and for really inspiring us. Guys, it's my turn now to share reality bites, right? Like my own food for thought after speaking to both Jet and Vinci. And they've already said it perfectly, but I just wanted to share with you guys certain excerpts from our conversation that really got to me and that we should all be taking with us today. The reality, guys, is that, things are not perfect. Things are not paradise, but things are not paradise yet. There is hope. Like what Jess said earlier, we're hungry for change. You can almost taste it, right? We are such resilient people. The Filipino people have this thirst for life. And we are so resilient and we don't want to give up. We don't want to surrender because we do all believe in a better, bigger, safer, more beautiful world. Not only for our nation, but actually around the whole world. But we can't sit. We can't sit in our homes and do nothing. We can't sit it out. We can't sit this wave of change out, guys. So, like what Je asked earlier, it's up to us. What are you gonna do? What are we going to do? Right? What are if our forefathers have fought and died for the Philippines and we have gotten the freedom and the liberty to do things and enjoy the things that we are doing now, but we want change, we're going to have to do it ourselves. So what are you gonna do? And what you're going to do has to start today. Because like what Vinci said earlier also, just tying it beautifully into like a full circle, is that you need to do the right things the right way and for the right reasons. Because if you are right, you should never be afraid. Like you cannot be ever afraid if you know you're right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we leave you with such a thought-provoking Monday morning. Enjoy National Heroes Day, guys. Say thank you to our forefathers and the amazing line of men and women who fought bravely for the country and for our freedom that we are all enjoying today. Thank your own heroes, whether it's your parents or grandparents, your sisters, your close friends, your brothers, anyone you consider a modern day hero, thank them. Because it is in our building ourselves together do we rise together as well. So maraming salamat to everybody. That's it for this day's Breakfast to Business topic on Descendants of the Suns and what we are doing to live a beautiful legacy of our forefathers. Thank you so much for tuning in to B2B Breakfast to Business. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts answer Jess' question and also give thoughts to Vinci's comments, right? On our social media, we are on Facebook, www.facebook.com/TeamAsiaPH. We're also on Instagram, so tag us at TeamAsiaPH. We're also on LinkedIn, www.linkedin.com/company/TeamAsia. And of course, our beautiful website, www.teamasia.com. That's it for today. Well, there's a lot of things to think about. So have fun, enjoy, and be proud of our lineage. Maraming salamat, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Vinci.